Jeremy, let's talk some MLB futures, though, and we will start with the American League East, right? Where it's really been the Orioles and the Yankees for pretty much the whole season, but the Red Sox are starting to play better baseball, and with the Yankees starting to fade, Boston is now only 8 games behind. You got Tampa at 11.5 and Toronto there at 14.5 games back. How would you assess the AL East currently, and your thoughts on the Yankees and the O's moving forward?
Yeah, I think still surprised that Tampa stinks. We're also used to them just kind of hanging around and being a team that just stacks series wins together. They don't have great pitching this year, which is kind of odd. Their hitting lineup, which has kind of been like hodgepodge over the years, where they were taking other people's trash and making swaps and getting a rookie that's coming in, and all of a sudden he starts hitting. I think the Wander Franco thing really did some damage because he was a phenomenal baseball player, and now you're dealing with that. So Tampa's been tough. Same thing with the Blue Jays. I mean, they might end up being sellers this time. They got a little hot here recently, won some games, but the American League, the National League's completely wide open with except for 2 teams. The American League's fairly wide open for those wild card spots. And I just don't have any confidence in the Blue Jays. A lot of people I've been talking to keep calling them gutless when you look at their lineup and how they're not scoring more runs. So I do think this is a 2-horse race, but I think the team that everyone should be focusing in on, and I can't believe I'm saying this, is the Boston Red Sox. They have pretty good pitching. They're healthy now in their lineup. Jarren Duran should be an all-star starter, in my opinion. He's played amazing this year. And then you add in what Rafael Devers has been doing recently, and Tyler O'Neill's back healthy. What we've seen from some of the young players like Valdez and Hamilton, they've looked really, really good. And they remind me a lot of the Nats, where they just steal a ton of bases. It's kind of an exciting brand of baseball without the long ball being a predominantly part of their game. So I think the Red Sox are really good. But when it comes down to it, it's the Orioles and Yankees. They both just went on a skid. The one thing I'll tell people is, I know I'm an Orioles fan, but go look at what they've done in the AL East. They smash every team in the AL East. They beat the Yankees' ass. They beat them 3 out of 4 when they were here. Went up there, finished that series off by just demolishing them and drum. I was making the joke, PJ, that I think the Orioles were so tired from rounding the bases playing the Yankees that they didn't show up for the Astros series. But it's a tough division. They're going to be there, and they're going to make moves to better their team. I'm just wondering who makes the big move this year, right? Like Garrett Crochet sitting out there, that feels like the big move. Is there someone else that's going to end up being sellers? Like if the Mets fall apart, would they be sellers? There's with the expanded playoffs, there's just a lot of opportunity. And I think the AL East is, you're facing these teams. They're all good teams, but the cream of the crop is the Yankees and Orioles.
Hey, do you think any one of these teams are going to be able to land Skubal? I mean, the Orioles are probably the team that can offer the best package with all their prospects. Possibly the Dodgers could as well, I guess. They've got a good farm system also. But do you think Detroit would entertain that, getting rid of Skubal?
I mean, if you're thinking about the Yankees, the possibility that I'd assume Dominguez would have to be in that deal for them to get Skubal. And on top of it, with the Orioles, that nobody has a better farm system than the Orioles right now. So many different prospects. It's funny because, we'll get callers to our show that go, hey, I don't want to trade that guy. I don't want to trade that guy. I was like, well, you're not going to keep them all. You want to get somebody. You don't get to just trade away the guys that you don't want, because Kobe Mayo's hitting bombs. I mean, just bombs in the minor leagues. Kierstead, he's at the major league level now with Kowser, but Stowers is there. They should put a statue out front of Norfolk because of how many home runs he's hit at that place. There's just Jackson Holiday's just coming back now, and he's DHing. And I know Mike Elias said it would have to be an amazing deal to get rid of the number 1 prospect in baseball. So the interesting thing for the Orioles is they can get anyone they want. What are they willing to give up? And but I think Crochet, and I'm not even sure if the Tigers want to give up Skubal, right? Or is there a chance that they might want to keep him? So, and then they're not totally out of it either, because the American League's wide open.
That's the thing. I don't even want Crochet. He's having an incredible season, but the guy's already exceeded his innings limit, and you're going to want him to win you big games and get innings for you in September and October. And for what you're going to have to give up, because the White Sox are so desperate for prospects, I think it's going to be a tough ask. So Skubal, absolutely, sign me up. If they want Kjerstad, Mayo, you give them what they want within reason. But I don't know if I'd be going after Crochet. I think the trade deadline is going to be really fun to watch. 7 games in a row. So, when you handicap the AL, is it as simple for you as Yankees-Orioles, or do you see value on some other teams?
I think this is a good time to buy Houston. I mean, the best time to buy Houston was a couple of weeks ago, but this team is still good, right? They are still a championship caliber team, in my opinion. Got off to a really slow start, but they are playing uh, some of the best baseball in the league right now. Actually, it's interesting. They'll be taking on the Mets here over the weekend, who have been one of the hottest teams in the National League. So this is going to be, I think, a good measuring stick for both of these squads. To sort of gauge themselves against another team that's playing really good baseball, but yeah, I don't think for sure in the modern game, I don't think that it's a foregone conclusion that the Orioles or Yankees will win the American League. Like, just look back to last year, right? I think that the gap between the Dodgers and the Braves versus the rest of the National League, that was bigger than whatever we're seeing in the American League right now. So getting a team like the Astros at, 8-1, even 10-1 potentially to win the American League, that stands out as a good.
Big. We were talking about this with Matt. I think most people expect the winner of the AL to be either the Yankees or the Orioles. I think both teams have some big flaws, though, Jeremy. Certainly the Yankees, can their starting pitching hold up and be as good as they've been for much of the season? The Orioles, as we know, really only have two starters that you can count on, at Birds and Rodriguez. Rest of their rotation's really beat up right now. Cole Irvin's kind of fallen back down to earth. Albert Suarez's magical run looks like it's come to an end. And I just don't trust Kimbrel in the postseason. Like, that's not the kind of closer that I would want of a team that I think can go a far way. So I think the Orioles have some flaws. The Yankees, I think, have some flaws. So I think the American League is a very interesting betting market right now. Look, the Astros have made it to 7 straight ALCSs. Like, until they show us that they're not going to get to that point, I think you have to bet them. That's what Matt was saying, and I agree with them. I think the value's there with Houston. They certainly intrigue me. And then a team that we've been talking about a ton on the show, Cleveland. I think they're close. I agree with you. If they can pick up a bat or two at the deadline, that's a team that I would keep an eye on. But right now, Jeremy, for me, man, if I had to pick a team to win the American League, like, I think I'm going right back to the well with Houston.
Yeah, and I totally get that. I think I'm still going to go with the Orioles here, and it's weird for me to say that. It sounds so weird saying I think the Orioles are going to get to the World Series, but I would agree with you, orange and black. Either Houston or the Orioles. But I am concerned about some of the things in their starting pitching. You made great points about this Oriole team. They had 8 starters at one point, and they're like, oh, we don't need any starting pitching, and then all of a sudden, 4 guys get hurt. They lost Kyle Bradish for the year, John Means for the year. We've seen Dean Kramer's working his way back now, but I still feel like they need to make a move for an arm in the bullpen at the back end. And then also, there's some talk about getting another starter in this rotation, depending on what they have to give up. You brought up Craig Kimbrel. He does not have a save this year in a 1-run game. He's blown all of those 1-run games.
Yeah, that's not good. That's not
good.
I
just checked. I double checked it. It's not good. Yeah.
Yeah, no, not good. And I mean, again, when you're in the postseason, you're gonna have to go through Houston most likely. You're gonna have to go through New York, and those are tough places to close out games. Kimbrel's just somebody I do not trust at all. So I think the value is on Houston right now to win the American